Look, we had a little bit of rain earlier, and there's just a lake on this half of the parking lot. It's filthy. People dumping oil, people just this. Anyway, oh yeah, I'm at the junkyard. And I'm here because I want to get the head off of that 164. Fuel-injected heads, they get bigger valves. I wonder if the corrosion that exists here in front of the thermostat where the coolant sits has something to do with the battery cable routing. Because on Subaru, they had a problem with electrolysis, which was when I think juice from the battery gets into the cooling system somehow, and then it sort of degrades and does all that. Because we're dealing with cast iron, copper battery cable, aluminum thermostat. I could be way off, but I could also be spot on. I'm not sure what that's like. This doesn't look completely rotted out. That's good. And the water ports are not awful. Like we saw with Amy, the thermostat, where the water sits by the battery cable, seems to be the spot for all the wear. So you got cylinder 3 and 4 at the top now. The rest are smooth. It's kind of a shame that this thing is here. The engine has no ridge on the cylinder walls. It may yet have been proven to be a good engine, but alas, a number of other issues have canceled this car. Ew, did I just say that? The thing about these double manifolds is that they won't work with the Pentamotor triple Solex carbs because the runners don't line up well, and so they're going to interfere with one another unless there's some custom machining, which may be outside of price range. There was an option for the AQ 170s to have, I think, a triple side draft versus the Solex downdraft. That's right around $800 to $1,000 to find one of those manifolds. I'm not going to get into custom machining and all that, but it is good to have these just in case. Because at what point do you get an opportunity like this, a Junkyard 164? Probably once a year, to be honest, but I'm taking it while I can get it. So since the engine rebuild is coming up, I want those higher compression ratios with the different head and the different head gasket thickness. I want the bigger intake and exhaust valves. And if I have to run the single piece manifold to keep my 2 carburetors, that's fine. But the case for a triple carb is you want an even mixture, a more even mixture, and you can tune it by pairs of cylinders versus the front 3 and the rear 3.
Now, to get that all back together, do we have to take the handle out?
No, that's actually the beauty of this.
Okay.
You want a frameless door? You can have a frameless door. All you gotta do is just pull that out. How neat. I'm just geek-a-leaking over here. All right, so we got these 2 sides buttoned up, and she's sure looking, well, this side. We're hard at work because this window is seized at the mechanism because they seem to be just stuck over time. It's kind of like a water valve in your shut-off valves on your water heater. If you don't use them, you lose them. We have working hazards. Yay! And
So I have to put the turn signal up?
yeah, I'll show you here on the dash. Somebody must have wired it incorrectly, but here we are hunting why it's not working and just, wiggling fuses. Do that first. That's the 4th time this month that on a Volvo, these fuses have been the problem. Well, the old girl's loaded up and she's ready to get transported, which is kind of cool. What I've done is I've put all of my tools and parts and everything just inside of Amy here, which means that the old girl's loaded up with about 1,000 pounds of stuff. For all you Canadians, that's about $454 US. Okay, so I gotta make sure this thing runs and drives. It doesn't embarrass us trying to get up and down the trailer. And I won't be there for drop-off, so gotta really make sure it's a turnkey. All right, see you later, Amelia. You behave yourself out there. That was the easiest shipment. It was like no questions asked, just its car, half trailer, and ship. These are the wheels that I got from Danny for Ivy, and they're gorgeous. Woo! I'm back. It's time to get back to work. We're seeing double. And I just quit my job. If you're new to the story of these cars, let me catch you up. This is Ivy, a green 1969 Volvo 164. She was a Christmas present to myself, my bank account disagreed, and our relationship was off to a rocky start. But now, it's springtime. The flowers are blooming, and this here is Amy. She is also a 1969, she is an automatic, and she's a parts car. Spring is here. That means flowers, wind, pollen, allergies. Not for me, though. I got spared. But it seems like they're blooming. They're having a good time together. The funny thing is, I told Ivy when I left her at the end of January, I wouldn't be bad if you reproduce. And it's exactly what happened. So we'll just walk around and I'll catch you up on what's going on with these two girls. This car has no rust. It's got a little bit of rust. And this car has a lot of bit of rust. It's a great place for the flowers to bloom. But we have filled both of them up with parts, and this thing got transported 2 weeks ago. The only trouble is they didn't disconnect the battery, so I'm just going to let her charge up because I want to see how she'll fire up now that we're here at a mile elevation back in Albuquerque. I live in California, and that's where Ivy is going to end up. This girl here, she's good for a lot of things, a lot of good parts. I'm not using the engine, but I will be taking most of the interior and swapping between the two of them. So if you haven't watched those other episodes, now would be a pretty good opportunity to do that. She runs and drives. She did run and drive, and then I pulled the head off, only to discover the engine is beyond tired. It was busted. I mean, we had flat cam lobes, holes in piston number 4, and at least the head looked okay, but all the water cooling ports were plugged up pretty badly. This is a B30A engine. It's an inline 6 that Volvo created by essentially copy-pasting 2 cylinders from their B20 4-cylinder 2-liter engines into this 3.0. And it's a beautiful engine. It's actually supposed to be very quiet when it runs nicely. It's about 130 horsepower on these. When they went into the fuel-injected ones, which this is also a carbureted double Zenith Stromberg, the fuel-injected cars make a little more power, around 165, and they run on Bosch D-Jetronic. Now, this car, as I had mentioned, beautiful interior. Somebody really loved on her for 326,000 miles until parking it in 2003. And that's where it sat. It was picked up by a fella that I know in the Central Coast area of California, and then I got it from him. He was planning on doing a V8 swap with it, but the project never got underway. I'm hoping to save her. The rust might be a little too much for some people, but it's been 10 minutes. Let's see if we have any juice in this battery. Funny thing is, only one of the Strombergs is choked. Here we go. Hey, right at the end of the power. Stay. So, I would like to do this. I would like to unload this car, take out all of the weight that's just bearing down on it. But boy, how cool is it that it's just low like that. Anyway, and minus the practicality. We'll leave the engine alone. I will just take the little bits and pieces that I want, put them all in there. Strip this car down, interior and most of the engine bay. Get that engine sent over to a machine shop, have them do the work on it. Ooh, here's a big part. I want to build the engine right, and it's going to hurt a little bit to get some of those extra parts. But as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I quit my job. I called and I said, look, it's not working out. So, bye. So that's, car work for other people was killing me. And it's only fun for me to work on these for me. I couldn't keep doing it for other people. It was too much of a commitment for not chasing the dreams that I want to chase. And it's not the Volvos. My dreams are in acting. And this is more my second job, let's say. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to get to work, and I think this is where I'll end this episode because we're going to just punch out videos this week. And I would like to really get this momentum going on the two 1969 164s. At the end of all of this work, it's going to be one beautiful running and driving car and one complete running and driving unrestored car. So that's it. See you in a few days. Okay, both cars are emptied. Here's where we're gonna pick up all of these parts. We'll just run through them. Let's start at the bottom. Floor mats, really nice ones. That is the Westminster parts haul. The old brakes, the old brake calipers that I didn't have to return for core charges. More old brakes. Ivy's old carburetors. I'm gonna pull them off and check the throttle shafts. They can get a little worn, a little bit more on that later. Blankets, towels, sheets. Extra stuff for 164Es. Don't need that. That's the lower dash panel for Ivy. And a bunch of new gaskets, some clips for the fenders, etc. The airbox, the hubcap, the corner trim, the wipers, the belts, an extra filter for the oil and the air. And then this is a transmission jack from Westminster. This is the Junkyard head for the B30E, larger valves, all the goodies. There's the water pipe for it because my water pipe has a hole in it. And it's rusted out pretty badly. This is the old stuff, all the old brake lines, etc. And then here we have the two-piece exhaust manifold for the E head. The carburetor setup here will not bolt up to that. So I will see what options I have, or I might just not use them at all and get right back to using the Strombergs. But I want to make sure that both Strombergs are feeding correctly. I don't want a cylinder running lean anywhere. I'd rather be rich than lean. Okay, these failures here are the window regulators. And then, yes, we have our 3 Solex downdrafts. We have extra trim rings, pedal assembly for the E's, and it might be the exact same pedals assembly, but we don't know. New old stock switch, I think the turn signals. Later year taillights. New gaskets, a lot of Amazon stuff. I just brought all my old Amazon gaskets. Sometimes the O-rings and the small things like thermostats, will work. So I just brought everything. And then we have a new valve cover gasket. This was a warranty from VP. Extra clutches. We have so many clutch kits, and that's beautiful. The larger disc, remember, it's like 20 millimeters bigger. It might be Italian with those colors on the side there. But we've got 2 full sets. There's the disc, the pressure plate, and then another set, disc, pressure plate, pilot bearing, throw-out bearing. Behind us on the wall is a pipe for the rear muffler. It's actually new old stock as well, but it does have some surface rust where moisture sat inside the plastic wrap. 3 fans, each with a hydraulic clutch. The old fuel pump that seems to work, but also doesn't. I'm not sure. This is an old ignition coil. Here are the throttle shafts. Oh yes, another fuel pump. A new old stock. Okay. Could be a vacuum leak issue if that port and those bushings are too loose. We don't want that, so this is just an extra manifold right now. And the workshop manual, the rear wood panel that covers the butt cheek area. I need to get a new one made. Extra fuel line. These are the rubbers that go along the sides of the hood and along the sides of the trunk. And from there we have some headrests. We have not new, but door rubbers that aren't completely dried out, which is good. Seat plastic. This is an interior plastic because the seatbelt reel exists on the later year car, so I will probably end up going with seatbelts. After driving Dave's 1900, I don't want to have a car without seatbelts. All right, funny, I started the year with a shortage of turn signals, and now I seem to have more than I know what to do with. But we have those, we've got the hubcaps, we've got the electric ignition, we have a windshield wiper motor from a later car, which won't work on this one. An extra grab handle, they're plastic. The Amazon ones had metal arms, and if they're the same size, then may as well switch over. A couple of distributors. These are going to be the kind that uses the electronic ignition there. Although, I still see a condenser. Interesting. I'm going to do a little reading in there. These are the triangles for the corners. Right there, where the battery is one corner and then the other corner. This wire harness, by the way, is the wire harness that connects the front between the lights, and it will give us the ends for the fog lights, which I'm going to make into turn signals, actually. I'm going to remove these turn signals, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then the headlights, and it puts the horns right there behind the grille. I will need to create brackets for those horns, or I could use the brackets that are there currently. But that'll be fun. And this is these are fun little mirrors that I bought for the fender. I do want to go with, the wing mirrors. They're kind of cute. Extra headlight rings, both red and green, in true New Mexican fashion. trim panels, alternator that does work, and windows that have a lock, like an aftermarket lock already attached to them, which is kind of cool. 3 mirrors, 2 of them are old, 1 of them is new. This is a breather cap, there's an extra water pump, and then we have the hella fog lights. They are broken, and I do want to get new lenses for them, thankfully. That's somewhat available. They're just, what, 5.5 inch or 5 1/4? A flywheel. I thought there was a second flywheel around. Maybe this is the only one that has. And then the center cross member for the transmission with that oh so expensive mount. But this mount is oil soaked, but still in one piece. Okay, from there, the drive shaft for the overdrive car. And this is the tachometer Bello, which is West German for the speedometer cable. The center carrier, I could already tell this is going to be too big for me, unless I can get a bigger donut bracket for it. I don't think I'll be able to use that. Rebuilt starters, well, just one. This one's used. Got the rocker assembly, just an extra one that Danny had in Westminster. There's my respirator to keep me healthy. The brackets for the rear sway bar, and then we've got the front and rear IPD bars. Yay! This is one of my favorite little bits. This goes down on the thermostat, and it clips for the battery cable, and I don't know what the second one is. This might be for the wire harness, because it is from a 164E. But these little guys here are, on the 122s, very unusual to find something like this for the fuel line. They're usually all gone. A radiator that has been recored for the cost of only $200, although it doesn't say record, it just says the year, make, and model of the car, and then it's a bill for $200. But the receipt's in there, and it looks pretty good. There's a tag, so it might have just been like resoldered, and the core was tested and okay. Got a new cap for it that's labeled. That's everything here. This is my corner of stuff to sell, so I can try to make a little bit of money, because as I'd mentioned, I quit my job, so I'm going to be very frugal, but I also want to be very efficient with the time, the 30 days that I'm out here. So what I'll do now is try to get the head right off of Ivy again, and then I'll get the engine hoist from Soren that's down the street. We'll bring it up here. I'll have him probably give me a hand with pulling this out. And then I got to get some jack stands too after the motor is pulled, because I don't want to lift it first, but then I'll get the jack stands and I will have this up and ready to power wash, because boy, underneath is so dirty. I really want that power washed beautifully. So a company called Super Clean reached out to have me try some of their products, and because I'm trying to save a little bit of money, I thought this was a great opportunity to give it a shot. I also have a tub of Purple Power, so we'll see how they compare as I get the power washer on the car. You saw how much grime is underneath this thing from episodes ago when I was scraping the transmission and all the mud and oil that was just under the car. It's filthy. So we'll see how this does, and we'll just compare a little bit side by side, and the price is nice on these, so check them out if you want. Also got a sweet hat and a t-shirt, so may as well do it in true style and wear the whole getup. It may be a little rougher on the edges, but boy, this hat fits nicely. All right, let's get cleaning.